Samtastic, back with more of that sort of thing I did in my last video, that talking with a bunch of pictures thing. It seemed to go over well. Well, this last weekend was pretty eventful, being the first major content rollout since release. Do we count Halloween? I don't know if we're supposed to count Halloween. Well, let's say the first major permanent content rollout. On the list of known additions are a new zone, South Sun Cove, a new dungeon, and incidentally a new kind of dungeon, Fractals of the Mists, and a new PvP map, Temple of the Silent Storm. We also got numerous bug fixes and skill updates, the details of which I'll likely squeeze into a new video. In that zone, South Sun Cove, there is a new creature type, the Karka, some sort of bastard child between a lobster and a dragoon. There are 2 new jumping puzzles, skipping stones, and under new management. There's also a cave full of juvenile reef drakes, an awesome new ranger pet capable of inflicting confusion. There are new crafting materials, the passion fruit, passion flower, and carcass shells, to be used in some 200 new recipes. There were updates to the achievements, including new daily and monthly PvP challenges, as well as the addition of Karka kills and the new Fractals dungeon completion for the PvE monthly. Within the Fractals of the Mists, there has been the introduction of the new condition, Agony, and its counter, Infusions, which can be slotted in the new Ascended items. Yeah, I think this is a good place for a tangent. I already talked about my problem with Ascended gear before the Lost Shores event, and regardless of how you feel about the response, I think it's pretty clear that ArenaNet is aware of the disapproval. Martin Kirstein posted on the official forums a statement from Chris Whiteside on the subject of Ascended gear. You can find a link to that post in the description, stressing that the intention is not to create a gear treadmill, and saying what I already knew to be true: "We care very much about your support and opinion and are listening intently to what you say." Articles about the blowback were published by Kotaku and PC Gamer, among others, so I think it's safe to say that our voices have been heard. What is the relevance of this new gear anyway? Why is it so important that developers are keeping the change despite the massive negative reaction? If you played the original Guild Wars, we're talking the original Guild Wars, circa 2005, what would retroactively be named Prophecies, then you likely know the significance of terms like Agony, Infusion, and Ascended. If you're planning to visit pre-Dragon Kryta, you might consider doing it soon, as it seems apparent that the lore will become increasingly more relevant as more content is released in Guild Wars 2. In any case, what I'm about to say will be full of spoilers for those who haven't played through the Prophecies campaign. Partway through Prophecies, you get tied up in a conflict between the Shining Blade and the White Mantle. If you spent much time at Divinity's Reach, you can see who ended up winning, thanks in no small part to the player's role in said conflict. The White Mantle were having their strings pulled by the Unseen Ones, these godlike creatures that appeared to Sol de Alessio somewhat recently to help the Crichtons fend off the Char, a tale that can be played out as part of the bonus mission pack. In order to combat these Unseen Ones, you were to venture into the sun-scorched sands of the Crystal Desert and pass the trials for Ascension, allowing you to be able to see, though not yet combat, the Unseen Ones. These strange transdimensional creatures, the Mersat as you discover they're called, possess an ability called Spectral Agony, and early encounters with these creatures or their Jade constructs are devastating. The technical details of the skill don't really apply to Guild Wars 2 mechanics, but in short, it would eat your face off while punching you in the sweets. To combat Spectral Agony, you accept the aid of a Seer, a mysterious creature who tells you that he is of a dying race who have been defeated by the Mersat after a long, difficult war. He instructs you to kill the beast known as the Eidolon and then bring him the thing's spectral essence so that he may infuse your armor against the Mersat's terrible spectral agony. You're not immunized, of course, but it's survivable. Then Ascended, with your armor infused against spectral agony, you're able to defeat the Mersat and open the door of Coma Life, fulfilling the prophecy, allowing Vizier Kilbron of Or to act out Abaddon's will by releasing the Titans, which you immediately kill, along with the undead Prince Rurik, the last place Sohothin was seen before it landed in the hands of Ritlock Brimstone, and the Vizier himself, the crazy bastard who drowned Or in order to avoid having to face defeat by the Char. Added later, the War and Kryta content update takes you on a new journey wherein you hunt down and eliminate the remaining Mersat that are aiding the White Mantle. As far as anyone knows, they're utterly extinct, as not another thing is heard about them for the next 250 years. Did you get that? Ascended heroes, infused armor, spectral agony, Mersat. The White Mantle do come up in Guild Wars 2, some cultist conspirators, a plot I have not yet fully explored with my thief, but not a word about the Mersat. Anyone who says the plot is boring hasn't been paying attention. Us diehards are on the edge of our seats. Whew, okay then, moving on. In the realm of new stuff that you don't have to kill, though you may want to, the Consortium has established a presence in Lion's Arch. This was done as a precursor to the Lost Shores event. Why they've waited until now to show up in LA is not entirely clear, but if I had to guess, it's probably intended to occur chronologically after completion of the personal story. Communication with other nations has got to be difficult when there's an elder dragon standing in the way, right? Not to even mention Palawajoko. I'm curious to see how this plot unfolds, and more than just a bit excited seeing evidence of ArenaNet's commitment to a living and growing world. So the story goes that the consortium was preparing South Sun Cove as a tropical getaway, not a common industry in Tyria these days. They stirred up a dangerous and hitherto unknown race, the Karka. This culminated into what is known as Phase 1, which occurred on Friday with a massive attack on Lion's Arch, resulting in the destruction of the final standing monument of Old Lion's Arch, the lighthouse. The conclusion of this event also marked the opening of the Asura Gate, which leads to the Fractals of the Mists, that new dungeon I myself have yet to enter. Judging from the glimpses I've seen, it's probably deserving of its own video anyway. My decision to not provide my own footage of the Lost Shores events is based almost entirely upon the ineptitude of my computer. I was averaging 5 frames per second while not recording, and I'm willing to bet that you can find uploads of the event that can top that. In any case, the lag during Phase 1 was atrocious, sometimes taking several seconds to register skill activation if the command went through at all, even for players who were getting perfect client-side performance. I imagine part of this issue arose from the introduction of so many guests, creating far from normal server load, and compounded a known culling problem that is seen most commonly in World vs. World. I feel like the experience during this sort of major event would be better for me if the load of each overflow server were more limited, but that's probably not the sort of direction that ArenaNet is willing to go. Other problems arose with the short scavenger hunt style quest chain, chasing leads about the consortium's involvement in the Karka's appearance, most notably with the total disappearance of Subdirector Null, a comically appropriate name given the situation. In response, the time limit of that part of Phase 1 was extended, allowing players, myself included, to complete some of the content after the start of Phase 2 when bug fixes had been applied. There was also some other secondary scavenger hunt involving a Largos and a shell or something, but I never figured out how to start that one, let alone finish it. Phase 2, though, having a confusing start that actually had very little to do with the trebuchet and had everything to do with traveling for the first time to South Sun Cove to drive the Horde of Karka from the shores, went much more smoothly. At least the server lag issues we had during Phase 1 were far less severe. After this event ended, we were all free to explore what the island had to offer, which led to fun new discoveries, such as the Karka's ability to do a barrel roll and kill everyone. Full exploration of South Sun Cove revealed an inaccessible cave, which seemed to be the most likely site for Phase 3, and indeed it was. Phase 3, the final and most difficult phase, took several hours to complete. First, an Asura beam cannon was used to create an opening in the spiral cave, and we fought our way inside, down to the bottom, then back up to the top. Our progress stopped a few times by large quantities of veterans and champions that sometimes came in pairs. Explosives were planted in various places inside, though I don't have a particularly strong memory of them doing anything. After that, we were tasked with driving an ancient Karka inside the cave, much easier said than done, where we literally beat it into the ground, giving it a lava death not dissimilar from the final fate of Crocomire. Then spawned a chest, a massive, glorious chest. A chest that apparently a large number of people were deprived of due to disconnects, thanks to the event spanning over countless overflow servers. Don't worry, ArenaNet knows about this one too, and they've stated that they're working on a solution, probably a bit more exclusive than the post-Halloween "Sorry You Were Underwater" reward extension. Basically, that's to say, if you weren't actually taking part in the event, then you probably shouldn't expect to see the reward. Mind you, it wasn't so special that I didn't just throw everything up on the trading post. On a somewhat related note, prior to Phase 1, when new points of interest were added to LA, it did not strip my Been There Done That title, nor did grabbing those points get me any further reward. South Sun Cove still isn't part of the 100%, but I'm hoping they'll update that along with adding vistas. I have completed both jumping puzzles, skipping stones being the significantly more difficult of the two, as well as much larger, and in the style of Specs Laboratory, or to a lesser degree, the Mad King's Clock Tower. I have to say I approve. I enjoyed them both immensely. The creatures in South Sun Cove tend to be very difficult foes, often being as high as level 84. Running around in the zone by myself proved far more difficult as well as expensive than doing so in ore. I've yet to form an opinion on whether or not that's a good thing, but I would in any case warn against overconfidence when venturing into the zone. As for the Karka themselves, they're a pretty cool enemy. There are several forms, from a headcrab style hatchling with a taste for face to the squishy yet still quite dangerous young Karka. launching what looks a lot like lava spines with a similarly devastating effect to the far more resilient armored adults. From whence did these terrifying creatures come? Well, they arose from the deep, pushed up along with the Quaggins and the Largos by a deep-sea elder dragon, most popularly referred to by the deceptively cute nickname Bubbles. I speculate that the Karka may very well be minions of this dragon, but presently they're just as mysterious as they are dangerous. But one thing is known for sure: we can kill them. The Lost Shores was, all in all, pretty awesome, but obviously not without its problems. The feedback from players, as well as what must be overwhelming quantities of technical feedback, will play a large role in how future one-time events and content rollouts are handled, and I, for one, am confident that the next time around will be even better. Money well spent indeed. Another piece of Guild Wars 2 news, a big event for me anyway: my soundtrack finally arrived, 7 weeks after I ordered it. You might expect to hear me complain about how long it takes for Direct Song to ship out physical orders, and I would have before the item arrived in my mailbox on Friday, but it turns out that Jeremy Sewell signs his stuff. Nothing but rainbows and unicorns here, folks. Well, that's all for now. Keep fighting for Tyria, and you will see me later.